The following segment is brought to you in partnership with Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. If you've lived here for long enough, you know that the homelessness crisis is worse today than it was 10 years ago. If you've lived here long enough, you know that the crime crisis is worse today than it was 10 years ago. And I'll never understand people who continue to want to put faith in the same politicians to fix problems that they haven't been able to fix for years and years and years. And Governor Jay Inslee of Washington is a prime example of that. He's been the governor for 10 years. He'll be the governor for 12 years unless he decides to run again, which I really don't think is going to happen. Fingers crossed. And here you've got Governor Jay Inslee. There's a new legislative session coming up in January. And here you've got him putting out to, very hoping for fanfare, these ideas to combat homelessness. And I got to think to myself, when I saw that, I didn't want to read it, to be honest. Why would I put any energy into wondering whether ideas of a man who's been in charge for 10 years while the homeless crisis has gotten worse are going to help fix things? If this man had ideas to fix the homelessness crisis, I don't think that we would have a homelessness crisis because he's been in charge for 10 years. And I also talked about the fact that when you're looking to someone to solve a problem, if they're not even willing to articulate honestly what the problem is, then that should be it. Then you should say, okay, I don't trust you to fix the problem. If you're not going to identify the problem, then you're not going to be able to fix the problem. And that's the issue here with Governor Inslee. Not only has he not prioritized and not solved homelessness in 10 years, and now it's worse than it was when he took office, much worse, but he also wants to pretend that it is a housing issue. That this is really just a matter of income inequality, that if we put up some more homes, if we put up some more affordable housing, then voila, the problem will be solved. And anyone with a brain knows that's not true. I was looking at the proposal that Governor Inslee put out. And look, I get it. At least he needs to propose something, right? I don't want him to just ignore the problem, but I don't have any faith in him to fix it. I mean, that is the height, that would be the height of insanity, is believing that a man who hasn't fixed it in 10 years is all of a sudden going to fix it in his last couple of years in office. That's ridiculous. But I was looking at, the proposals that he was putting out, and some of them, if proposed by anyone else in good faith, I might actually give some attention to. Emergency supportive housing for people experiencing homelessness, housing for people with special needs like developmental disabilities, affordable housing units for lower and middle income workers, down payments and closing cost assistance for low income first time home buyers. I understand why some of these, and I think that housing is part of the problem, right? I do think we have a housing crisis in our state, particularly for the middle class. It is hard for any Washington family in the middle class, even if you have a 2-income household, to afford a house. And that's just not right. But when you look at the issues related to homelessness, the governor always puts housing above what the true crisis is, which is drugs and mental health. We have a drug crisis and we have a mental health crisis, and those things contribute to a rapid rise in homelessness. And until the governor is willing to admit that, I just don't even want to listen to anything he has to say on the issue. Because he put out this slide, the governor's office, saying, what's driving homelessness? And it says the price of housing is up, the availability of housing is down. And he gets into rents have increased. The percentage of income that people are spending on their rent is way too much. He's talking about the rise in the median home price, etc. And so again, when he's got this slide saying what's driving homelessness, it all has to do with housing availability and affordability. And I just think that's nonsense. You don't one day, if you're a fully functioning member of society, you're all here mentally, you're not addicted to drugs, you have a job, etc. You don't just one day, if you can't afford your rent, start hawking stolen goods on 3rd Avenue. You don't one day, if you can't afford your rent, move into a derelict RV and park it on Elk Beach. That's just, there's a lot of room between those two stations in life. And I'm sorry, but for a lot of the people who are deep in the throes of homelessness, living in tents outside in the cold weather, living under bridges, living in RVs that are bound to catch fire, selling stolen goods in the heart of downtown Seattle, there are other issues at play. And unless you deal with those other issues, you can throw them in a $24 million mansion and it's not going to make a lick of difference in their lives. And so it's just so painfully dishonest when I see this continuing focus on homelessness being a result of a lack of affordable housing. I believe we need more affordable housing, but I don't think that's going to fix homelessness. Now, the governor is talking a little bit about behavioral health, saying we need to build up community capacity for behavioral health, including a new diversion and recovery center for people with behavioral health needs and criminal justice involvement. And great. I'm glad the governor is mentioning behavioral health. But this is the governor who presided over such a rapid decline in our state's mental health system that the state's largest psychiatric hospital was defunded by the federal government because it's lost its federal certification. So again, it's just not the guy who I'm going to trust to deal with behavioral health issues. And look, I'm not saying that the governor should sit around for the last 2 years of his term and do nothing on the issue of homelessness. Fine, propose these things, do what you're going to do anyway. I just have zero faith in his ability to solve the problem. One, because he's shown us the last 10 years that he's not only not capable of solving the problem, but the only thing he's shown us is that it has in fact become worse under his leadership. And two, I do not trust anyone to solve a problem that they refuse to properly identify the cause of. The preceding segment was brought to you in partnership with Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org.